Hey world, this is Kunal Jethwani, and you are listening to the Agile Podcast, the show that the geek inside you will fall in love with. At Agile, I bring you tech news, explain trending technologies, and complex IT stuff in simple layman terms. I will also reveal product hacks, dive deep into the world of data structure and algorithms in a simple manner. Occasionally, I'll also be reviewing gadgets and products. For all of this exciting content, stay tuned and subscribe to the Agile Podcast. Today, we're not just talking about what is Web3, the term that has taken everyone by storm, but we will deep dive and learn the fundamentals of what exactly is the Web3 and also about blockchain. Don't sweat because we will discuss everything there is to know about what Web3 is, and in the future episodes, we'll also look at how global brands are experimenting with Web3 and if it has the promise to make a better internet. This is a vast subject, so this episode will focus on the concept of Web3 from the perspective of what it is and what blockchain is, how both of these are connected to each other. Over a period of time, I'll go deeper into these technologies. However, in this episode, I'll go deep into what they are, and it will give you a very strong understanding overall. So stay tuned to find out more. Alright, guys, do you remember Bitcoin? When Bitcoin was first introduced, it was a confusing but exotic, one of a kind piece of application of a buzzing technology known as the blockchain. It had a lot of mystery surrounding it and was almost looked down with contempt, as if the money can be used legitimately or not, and if yes, then on what? So, a lot of people like myself were fascinated with the underlying technology of cryptography and the blockchain. I still am, and I started a blog, if I remember correctly, around fintech about a decade ago, with blockchain as the central protagonist of all the articles that I was pushing in there. There was a lot of industrial interest, and from what I remember, I consulted a lot of global brands on that technology, even implementing it for a few of them on behalf of the IT consulting company I worked for at that time. So, a premium technology with unique applications like cryptocurrency that has kind of blew up in value like nobody imagined, only for the value to fall down again. So when the value falls down, skeptics dismiss it, only for the cycle to repeat all over again, where the value of cryptocurrencies keep rising and everyone takes it seriously, but then it falls again. So fast forward to today, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are everywhere, from key sports events to celebrity endorsements and advertisements. It's now mainstream. But like I keep saying, that Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is just a part of it, an application of blockchain. And our focus is blockchain as to what is blockchain and what is Web3. So, what is blockchain? Think of blockchain as a distributed ledger technology, DLT. I like to think of it as a distributed database. Here's a simple example. Mm, let's say I'm getting married, so I invite everybody to the event. That is my marriage. Okay. When all of you attend that event, in your head, you register that event marriage. So that event is registered in your head. All of you at the event are now witnesses to that event and have registered it, sort of. So if someone was to ask you, you would know that, okay, this individual is married and you saw it happening in front of you. This is completely opposite to, let's say, a marriage registry, which is, let's say, a centralized registry with the government or the courts who issue a marriage certificate, and that registry does not belong to everyone. You cannot look into it, you cannot see who's writing what in it, who's erasing what from it. any pages are torn. You get the idea. If that register is manipulated or updated, you just don't know about it. It's a central registry. Whereas when you are an attendee, the idea is that you are the registry yourself, and people, each one on their own. So you're decentralized. It is easy to manipulate the central registry, but how does someone corrupt the memory and mind of all of you who are the attendees to my marriage? I'm not saying it can't be done, that all of you cannot be made to state otherwise through whatever means that may be, but it is an incredibly difficult task to convince, let's say, 100 people and make everybody believe that an event that they were witness to never really happened. Okay, but with a central registry, that's just one piece of information that you have to manipulate. Now, this distribution of registry ledger, this is the distributed ledger technology, where the database or the registry is not centralized, it is decentralized, and every participant in the network holds a copy of that registry on the machine or wallet or cloud. That's a separate topic for maybe some other day. But you get the idea that as a blockchain participant, you will hold a copy of all transactions that have happened on that blockchain network. And all of this data cannot be changed or hacked easily, because remember, not all invitees can be convinced, because for someone to erase that event from history, they'll have to convince every single participant that it never really happened. As long as there's just one person to say that it happened, the consensus won't be 100%. Now, it need not be 100%, but that's, again, getting into the technical bit of it. So, technically, it's possible, but it is incredibly difficult to change, modify, reverse, delete, or hack data on a blockchain, because you need to achieve a level of consensus. So hence the data on blockchain is called immutable and has a single version of truth that is traceable through and through. It is difficult, very difficult to manipulate and to establish a consensus other than what is recorded on the chain, because that consumes a lot of power, and it's not practical for most people, or even corporations for that matter, due to the high cost, power, and logistics of going against the consensus on blockchain. So what exactly is this power consumption and logistics that I'm talking about? So let's go back to our example. All the invitees to my marriage had to make some effort to get there, maybe by way of commuting to that venue. So in your car, if you took a plane to travel to that city or that country, whatever that may be, commuting costs money, requires fuel. Likewise, registering a transaction on blockchain or distributed ledger technology also requires efforts. It's called mining. And there is more to mining, but to keep it simple, it's an expensive activity. It consumes a lot of power, a lot of system resources, and cryptography is not meant for just any machine. You require a very powerful machine for it. It's not simple, consumes a lot of time, power, and money, and you need a good set of resources for that. You really need to be resourceful. Mining is a topic for another day, but you get the idea that mining is not everyone's cup of tea. It needs some massive investments, and once a piece of information is mined already into the blockchain, changing it would mean to change it on everyone's registry, that is the decentralized database. Go into every database and change it, which means to mine it as many times and as quickly as possible so that the consensus does not overwrite it again quickly. So now let's take our example further ahead. Since you were present at my marriage, and let's assume we're in touch. It's been a year now, but we're in touch and you're a kind person. So you wish me on my marriage anniversary. Simple logic, right? There's an event anniversary and you remember. So once the clock strikes and that calendar day turns up every year, you do an action, that is, you wish or you greet. Likewise, blockchain has smart contracts. These are pieces of logic coded on the chain that can execute themselves, or they can execute a certain action depending on certain prerequisite conditions. So let's say that One popular use case is to create a digital deed of a physical asset, say real estate, and track it through its purchase and sales life cycle on a blockchain, or even for the purpose of gifting and inheritance. Take this a step further, and we have digital assets that are getting tracked on the chain, and we call them NFT, or non-fungible token. I kid you not. NFT market exploded in the year 2022 into a $41 billion market out of nowhere. That is no small number by any means. Further extending this distributed ledger technology or blockchain, we have DAO. It means Decentralized Autonomous Organization, DAO, that operates like an actual corporation, except that these are decentralized, so they are headless corporations. They raise money and they spend money, and they do this basis decisions voted on by its members and executed by encoded rules or smart contracts. Simple, efficient, risky. Is it ethical? Well, that is a completely different debate and a deep argument. Here is an example of DAO. One DAO, which is one DAO, one decentralized autonomous organization, recently raised $47 million in an attempt to buy a rare copy of the US Constitution. So a group of people came together, they became part of a private network of blockchain that had smart contracts which would, execute themselves. In this case, once it reaches a certain amount, $47 million that is, it would attempt to buy or procure a rare copy of the US Constitution. So that's a piece of code that automatically triggered on a preset condition which was arrived at through voting or consensus of the people that were part of this private network of blockchain. It's crazy, right? And there's something more to it, DeFi, decentralized finance, but that's not really central to what I am talking about. What is Web3 and blockchain? So we looked at what blockchain is and its different applications, and the totality of all of these efforts is called Web3. Think of Web3 as a project that aims at changing how the internet or the World Wide Web works. The vision is that the new internet or the new world or the new World Wide Web will work using blockchain to change how information is stored, shared, and owned. So what does this mean? Well, both good and bad things, and it depends on which side you are at, but some of the good and bad are sort of shared, or so I think. Well, in theory, a blockchain-based web has a strong potential to destroy the monopolies of all those who control information, who make money through it, and even how networks and corporations work today. The new internet will not be centrally controlled as it has come to be today, and thus it aims at being decentralized. So people who advocate for Web3, the advocates argue that Web3 will create new economies, new classes of products, new services online, and that it will return democracy to the web. And that is going to define the next era of the internet. Now, does it remind you of someone? Somebody like the Marvel villain Thanos? Web3 is inevitable. That's the kind of argument that these advocates make. But wait. Is it really inevitable? Or are we talking fiction here? Let's face it. This isn't a virtual world. Reality on Earth is, it's very real. We have practical constraints. While it's undeniable that energy, money, and talent are surging into the Web3 projects, yet, if you want to recreate the web, it is a major undertaking. For all the paradise that it promises, the blockchain faces significant technical, environmental, ethical, and regulatory hurdles between here and hegemony. A growing chorus of skeptics warn that the Web3 is rotten with speculation, theft, and privacy problems, and that the pull of centralization and the proliferation of new intermediaries is already undermining the utopian pitch for a decentralized web. Meanwhile, businesses and leaders are trying to make sense of the potential and pitfalls of a rapidly changing landscape. That could pay serious dividends to organizations that get it right. Many companies are testing the Web3 waters, and while some may have enjoyed major successes, several high profile firms are finding that they or their customers don't like the temperature. Most people, of course, don't even really know what Web3 is even today. But hey, not you, not my listeners, not the subscribers of the Agile Podcast, because now you know what Web3 is and also what the blockchain is, which is also known as distributed ledger technology. So, just to recap, blockchain or distributed ledger technology is a decentralized database that every participant owns, and it's nearly impossible to hack it with current technology. So it's pretty safe in that regard. But the downside is that it's very power intensive. It's not a very convenient piece of technology, and sustainability is a big question. And there are a lot of applications of blockchain like cryptocurrency, DAO, smart contracts, DeFi, and Web3 is essentially a new version of the internet as we know today. And this new internet will encompass of all the applications of blockchain as we know today. And now that you know what Web3 is, well, allow me to welcome you to the confusing, contested, exciting, utopian, scam-ridden, disastrous, democratic, maybe decentralized world of Web3. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have hit the end of another episode of the Agile Podcast. There's so much more about this that you guys need to know. I have still not covered what global brands are doing with this piece of technology and what it means for them. For the more curious little bunch out there, and don't get me wrong because I'm very curious myself, so for all you special guys that may be thinking what is Web 1 and Web 2, I mean, if this is Web 3 and all things in IT have an incremental version, so what was there before and what happened to it? I may also be covering Web 1 and Web 2 in the next few episodes. All of this takes a lot of time, effort, research, writing, scripting, editing. So if you like what I am doing, then you can reward me by subscribing to my podcast. It motivates me to keep doing this and may allow in the future to be able to denote more time for it. But if you're not ready to subscribe yet, then stay tuned for the next episodes where I explain how Web3 works, perhaps about Web 1 and Web 2 as well. Also a lot more exciting stuff that you will find out if you keep watching this space, the Agile Podcast. Alright guys, thank you for being a lovely and patient audience. Stay tuned, and if you like my content or excited about the next episodes, then hit that subscribe, like, follow button, whatever that is on your screen. This is Kunal Jethwani from Agile signing off. Thank you.